Well, hello. I'm a few minutes late. I'm sorry. I was in the middle of doing some glass, and I see that Julie is here. Um, and maybe she's already popped off because I'm a couple minutes late. So, Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you are having a fabulous 2026 already. We had a great time yesterday. I cooked prime rib for 67 people, and we actually turned a couple people away because you're supposed to sign up before um, the actual day of the dinner. So I did turn away 3 people, but we did 67 for prime rib yesterday, and it was fabulous. I mean, it was totally fabulous, and I mean, there's nothing better than a good prime rib, good friends, and a new year. So I hope that you are really just setting yourself up for a great year. And we are talking about New Year's Eve goals. I talked about goals before, and I did tell you that I was just going to work on them. I was going to tell you how my process went. And so, I mean, I have stuff that I seriously took some time to do some really looking inside. When you guys, when you guys are thinking about goals. I never do what they call resolutions that last about a week. Um, but what do you really want out of your life? Do you know what you want out of your life? It can be difficult, you know? What do you really want? Not what somebody else wants from for you, what they expect from you, but what do you want out of your life? And so I broke it down, in categories. What kind of areas do I want to do? Um, and my when we talked about this before, I said take some time to make your goals, sub goals, and ideas. And I think that's important um, because otherwise it just becomes a resolution. And the likelihood of you meeting that resolution throughout the year, it's like you decide January 1st, you're going to go to the gym every single day. And you do it for about 2 weeks. I've done it for a couple weeks. And then it's like life is busy. So it really wasn't a goal for me. It was just some kind of crazy resolution that I thought sounded good. I didn't break it down. I didn't have anything that would make it so that I really wanted to meet that goal. Julie says, one of my goals is to set aside time for crafting. I know it makes me happy, but I haven't done it for a while. You know, if I am not in the garden or haven't been doing some kind of art for a while, I get grumpy, because that's my place that I can just push everything and everyone out of that space because and I mean it's being profitable, but it's my space. And just because of the way my life is, that's what I can do. Some people will go to the gym, some people will do maybe some fun thing like they meet for with the girls for coffee once a week. It's their space. But you got to put it on your calendar. Matthew, happy new year. You got to for me anyway. And you guys can tell me in the chat what you do. But for me, I have things written down. I've always been a list maker, and so I have my list for each day. I have it on my calendar. I have it on my calendar on the wall because I need that for me. And so when I spent it was probably 3-4 hours that I spent trying to figure out what my goals were for 2025. I've broke them down to what was my goal for the year, what it was for the quarter, for each month, each week. I haven't broken it down to each day, but each week I do that. But on my sheet, I actually haven't broken it down. Um, but I had to really look is this really important to me, or is this something that I just think other people think I should do? Julie says, I find it more useful to promise the strategy rather than the goal. One year I decided to eat more fiber. Stick with it because I feel better and no migraines. See, that is fabulous. And however it works for you, strategy, a goal, even a resolution, if that's what works for you, that's what you want to do. But I'll show you, this is my page for art, right? So I broke it down on classes for painting. I broke it down for my fused glass. I actually got a grant for this spring to teach. It's an aging grant. So all the people in the class have to be over 55, and I'm partnering with the library back home. And so it's going to be at the library, but I got that grant for the first time. And so that is on my goal. How I got to break it down. Plus, the library wrote a grant, and I am teaching barn quilt. You know, the squares, it looks like a regular quilt, only it's just one square of that quilt and it's painted on wood. So I'm actually teaching those 2 classes. Then my other goal is to make art kits. I always believe that every single person is an artist in some way. And so many times people say, I can't even draw a stick figure. I wanted to help those people. So the canvas comes, and I've already drawn the picture on the canvas. It has step-by-step instructions. It has the paints, it has the paintbrush, and that's launched, that comes out on Monday the 5th. And so there'll be a video about that. And I have 8 different paintings. And I've already actually, because I've been doing little snippets, kind of getting people to want to watch them. And so on Monday, I'll have that regular video out Monday night, probably, because I have a couple Zooms that I have to be on Monday. And it will, I'm so excited, launch across the country. And so if you want to be an artist, but you've never even tried, or you want to give it just because you want to paint that for fun, you want to give it as a gift, you want to give it to your kids, that's the opportunity. I'm good at abstract art. LOL. I honestly love abstract art. It can make you feel and see things that you never even thought were there at first by looking at a painting. I have a painting that's in a show this month, and it's called The Rocky Mountains in Abstract. And it's definitely an abstract painting. But the more you stand there and look at it, all of a sudden you go, oh, there's a cliff, and there's trees, and there's the mountains there. And I showed it to different people, and I said, just look at it for a while. And every single one of them saw that. So I'm hoping at the end of the month, when that is at the Art Matters, that's what it's called, the great big dinner that they sell them, that it will be a success and somebody will enjoy that and purchase that. So I'm excited about that. But for me, like when I have a goal that's called money, how much money I want to make. I have a goal that's just for YouTube. And I have my Thursday night lives. But starting on the 5th at 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, so that would be 11:30 on the East Coast, I am doing a new live that's called Monday Moments. And, oh, look at there, Troy Sutton. Happy New Year. Hello, Troy. So Monday mornings at 9:30, starting next Monday, and totally different kind of things than, well, not totally different, because I do talk about some of these things sometimes. But like, I'll give you an example. On the 5th, we're going to talk about, are we amateurs or professionals in the things that we do? And that can open a whole bunch of stuff. On the 12th, money is more than a number. On the 19th, choices, time, money, and intention. And then the last one for January on the 26th is believing in yourself. And so a little bit different than what I do on a Thursday night. If you watch Round the Hay Bale, their red carpet on, and it was on Tuesday night. I used to be on Round the Hay Bale and Hey Y'all Hey, and I stepped away because I was just, sometimes you have too much stuff in your life. But they did do the promo for the next season, and I am back on Tuesday nights with Round the Hay Bale with Monica and Casey and Ann from Andale Homestead, and I'm totally excited. And the format has changed too, starting in next year, and it's an hour-long live. And not the pre-recorded that's usually Monday mornings and then Tuesday night is the live. It's just the live each week. And so many people said that the half hour was just too short when we were talking about subjects. And I'm excited about it. I really am. And I just think it can, I know, sometimes we only do things to meet that goal. And that's when I do that, I am an amateur. If I want to be a professional in whatever area of my life that I want to be, I have to do more. I have to strive more. I have to work at it more, because a professional, they don't do it wrong anymore. They've put in enough time, honed their skill, their talent, and so that I think an amateur doesn't do enough of the studying, the practicing, where a professional practices way more for one performance, where an amateur does lots of performances and only practices once. So, but we'll talk all about that next Monday. So tell me what you guys are doing for New Year's. Did you have a special dinner today? Are you off from now until next Monday? Because a lot of people have a very long weekend. The kids go back to school on Monday. So I'm sure there are some parents that are going, yes, they've been home for 2 weeks. But I think it's really hard when you have a long vacation like that, which as a kid, you think is fabulous. But for working parents, that can be real tough. And so it's a mixed bag when it comes to that. Julie says, worked. Did you work today? Well, Happy New Year's anyway. I did laundry and I did all kinds of stuff today. So it's not like I had the day off. Cleaned some stuff in my art room. And I started on new fused glass art projects today. And so that always makes me happy. In fact, that's what I was doing where I was a couple minutes late. And it was like, oh no, I gotta go. I wear my watch on the inside. I know it's weird. I've just always liked that. I've worn it like this for I don't even know how long. And it's just so easy to turn it out like that. Not that it's hard to turn it the other way, but. Oh, cabbage in the pressure cooker, only 8 minutes. Black-eyed peas and cornbread dressing. Oh, yum. Yum, yum, yum. Oh, Henry is here. Henry, Happy New Year. I hope 2026 is just fabulous for all of you guys. And I've actually been listening to a YouTuber, and his name is Myron Golden. And he actually has 3 channels. He has Myron Golden, that's just his shorts. He only puts his shorts on that one. He has his regular Myron Golden. And then he has a Bible study, Myron Golden. And I've watched some of all of them. And he's very inspiring, and he breaks goals down. And he talks about why we don't achieve those goals and how we have to break them down. And so that, in fact, I wrote a couple things down I was going to share with you. Let me get to that page. have a lot of notes over here from, because this is my booklet. Oh yeah, and now I can't find it. Oh, there it is right there. He talks about the boring practices that we do in our life. Because there are things that we do, but they're boring. But if you don't do all those steps, all those boring things, you can't get to the higher place. But he talked about when you're setting a goal, he talked about first you have the awareness of it. What's your goal? What your awareness? Then you have to have the intention. How are you going to meet that goal? Then you have to make a decision that you're going to decide to do that goal and meet that goal. Then the hard part, the discipline. And this was real fascinating when he was talking about it, that's where most people fail when it comes to a goal, because they don't work hard enough. We don't discipline ourselves enough. And many times that's where I have failed in a goal, because I wasn't disciplined enough to do that. Then you're going to reach that goal. And then the very last thing is to celebrate. So on my goal sheets, I have been starting to write little things. When I meet this goal, what is my celebration? Now, it could be as simple as going out to dinner, but maybe it's a bigger goal, because sometimes I think, have you done this sometimes? I know I have done this sometimes, that I don't make a big enough goal. I want to keep those goals so that I can reach them without really having to try, without really having to be disciplined enough to reach that goal. And so that's my fault. That's something I have to learn. I have to build that discipline in my life. And oh gosh, that's such a horrible word sometimes. Discipline. But if I want to reach my goals in my art, in the money I want to make, and like I want to buy some land. That's one of my goals. Now, I have fruit trees on both places where I live, but I would like that on a much larger scale. And so that's one of my goals. And so then I had to break it down of how much land do I want? How much is it going to cost? How am I going to pay for it? How am I going to raise that money? Or all these different aspects of it. And then the fun parts. What trees are you going to put on it? Are you going to put berries too, or just fruit trees? Are you going to have chickens on it? What are you going to do? Are you going to have bees on that land? I have to just break those things down. And so that's important whenever you have goals. The more you break it down, if I do this each week, okay, let's just take a fun, easy example. If I want to save, let's say, $2,500 in a year's time. If I break that down to quarters, I have to save $750 a quarter, which would be $275. Nope, that's not right. I'm gonna have to take my pencil. 750 divided by, probably we'll say 4 weeks in a month. Okay. So 3, 5. So I have to save about $200 a week to make that goal. Is that right? That's not even right, I don't think. No, that's a month I have to do. So basically, if I had to do $750 a month each week, see, I need my calculator. That's all there is to it. And I got my phone with me. But you get my idea. You got to break it down. So this is how much I want to save in a year. This is how much I want to save every quarter. This is how much I want to save each month. How much do I have to save each week? I'm disappointed I didn't figure that out beforehand and write that down. Yeah, that's what. Okay, so $2,500 each quarter is 750 each. Then you break it down to the month, and then you break it down to the week. So it's not really that much you have to save each week. 50 about $50 a week. And can we do that? If you got paid every 2 weeks, that'd be about you have to save $100 out of your paycheck. Now, let's look at it a different way because I was breaking different things down. Now, what if I can't save $100 out of my each paycheck? But could I stop doing certain things? Do I have to have all those subscriptions? Do I have to go out to dinner 2 or 3 times in that pay period? Things like that. And all of a sudden, that $100 is there. And you just got to figure out what are my obstacles? What are my real goals? How do I break it down? And I just find that makes it so much easier for me. And now, if you guys have tricks on how you set your goals and meet those goals, write them in the chat so that people will know how you do it, because people can glean ideas from all kinds of places. And so that's always important. Um, who can help? Who can you surround yourself that can help you reach those goals? Maybe there's somebody else that's trying to get the same kind of goal as you. So then you have this partnership that you can bounce ideas off, because none of us are islands. Sometimes we get into that mode, especially as homesteaders, that I'm going to have my farm. I'm going to forget about all these other people and all this crap that I see that's going around in the world. And I'm just going to live in my little tiny bubble. I don't think that's really healthy. Now, would I love to have a lot of land and be a homesteader? Yes, but I don't want to not have interaction with people. And I want the joy of surrounding myself with people. That said, make sure you're surrounding yourself with the right kind of people. Not people that are always negative and they're always dragging you down. And that can be tough, when you got to call from a girlfriend and every single time it's just so much negative, negative, negative. And you try to lift them up. That can be tough. And so you want to surround yourself with people that are just really going to help you. Make yourself a little team that can really help you set those goals, because we are right at the beginning of 2026. There's a book out that actually Myron Golden talked about. It says, and it's about everybody should learn how to play an instrument. Even if you don't want to learn how to play an instrument, it will teach you things about life and things for you. And that's interesting. And so that is on my list. I have about 3 books I have to finish, because I always like reading multiple books at one time. But that is my next one that I'm going to try for 2026. I can play instruments, but that's not the part of it. It's the whole ideal and concept of that you can do it, even when you think you can't. I hit a wall trying to trim the fat. Got rid of cable 2 years ago. Got rid of or stopped those things bleeding money. Only thing left is to stop eating and live in the dark. Sometimes you have to have a side hustle, Through my life, when I was a single mom with 5 kids, before I met Joe, at one time I had 4 different jobs. And because I needed some side hustles, I needed to make a certain amount of money, and all of the 4 jobs were part-time jobs. And so I was here, I was juggling, but it made it so that me and the kids could live the life that I wanted to at that time. And during that time was the first time I ever bought a brand new car by myself. And so that was kind of exciting. And so, you know, maybe sometimes there are things that we can barter too. We don't necessarily have to um, buy things. We can barter too. My cousin has a book that's out on Amazon all about bartering, and I'll get the name of it and the link, and I will try to put it in the chat below. Lost my cat last year. Cats aren't that expensive, but I noticed the difference in my spending. That is interesting. How just little things, but I am sorry that you lost your cat. Um, that little tiny things can make a difference. And like I have friends that they would no more buy their clothes at a secondhand store, but I don't mind buying my clothes at a secondhand store. Not that I always buy my clothes at the secondhand store, but sometimes you can get a deal like nobody's business, and I'm okay with that. But one of the things that I started when I started doing my list that um, I really had a goal that by the end of the year, I I am going to be really much more set financially. And I don't really want to go into what my actual goal is, but and maybe I'll do a video at it after a little while when it starts to progress a little more. And so I decided because most of my goals that I have, other than my land, are probably pretty much that I can do those goals. But when I listened to him and Myron Golden, and he talked about we need way bigger goals than what we have. Um, that's when I really changed my money goal, and some of my other goals, I really pushed them way farther than I thought was possible. And we'll see how that works. We used to say if you have a large breed dog to live average 15 years, you're going to roughly spend 7K over their lifetime in care, upkeep, and food and everything. Wow. That's much more than an investment. And we had dogs, but not big dogs, but um, that's interesting to me. Wow. Julie says it's a lot more than that now. I had pet health insurance, and her later years were on prescription food. See, things to think about too. We didn't have, other than a little bit of stuff for Reagan's eye, really didn't have medical things with our dogs. Um, so in that way, I was very blessed. But I know that some of my friends have had to have surgeries on their dogs, and it is a big expense. At times, the dogs had better plan and insurance than myself. I would believe that. Working from home has saved me dollars. That, um, I know a lot of people have told me the same thing. I've always been, I mean, not that didn't have regular jobs too, but I have very much been an entrepreneur that I could work out of my house. And even when my brother just retired, not even a year ago now, he told me how much difference it made that he didn't have to buy the clothes for work. He didn't have that gas expense. Um, the food budget, he said, was totally different. So it's real interesting because just that commute time. He said that what a big difference from when he retired. His food bill, his gas bill, um, wear and tear on his car. He just had this whole list of things, and I thought that was really interesting. That oh, Bushcraft family, hello, how are ya? We're just talking about some goals for 2026. I hope you had a happy new year so far. And um, if you have any goals or ideas on how to reach those goals, pop them in the chat too. So it's interesting. I've known people that have worked in corporate and then they came home. Sometimes it was just moms that they were having babies and they just didn't want to work also. He's stuffed from New Year's. They and so she didn't have one in particular that I have in mind. So she didn't have the commute. She didn't have the clothes. She said, you know, she didn't have going out to lunches at lunchtime with girlfriends because she was working. She just listed all these things. She didn't have daycare anymore. She didn't have this. And she said it was just mind blowing the amount of money difference. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And people have stories like that all the time. Not that I'm telling everybody they should not work. I'm not telling you that, because everybody's got to do their own stuff. Um, Matthew says, right? He's talking to Julie. Haven't had a pet in over 10 years. Our boy lives 16 and our girl's 17. Because we just had Max, or we lost Max a year and a half ago. Was it a year and a half ago? Is it already almost 2 years now? And then Reagan this last summer. And both of them were 15. It's a long time for a dog. So to the type of dogs that we had. And um, I honestly have to say that there are days that I really miss not having a dog. But then there's other days that I don't have the expense of a dog, no poo patrol. Um, so there just depends on what you want in your life, you know? Sometimes when people retire, I think it's a good idea to get a pet, especially if you're by yourself. And so you just got to do what's good for you. What is your goal that you want out of your life? And it's just interesting. But it's only the 1st of January. Make sure that you're setting yourself some goals. Next week on Tuesday night, we're talking about, can I make $1,000 more a month? So now you have a little bit of my idea of my goals when it comes to money. And I'm going to talk about the things that I am doing to make that difference. And then on Monday Moments, 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, next week we are talking about, are we amateurs or professionals in our life? And it really doesn't have anything to do with your job, though it could, but in a lot of ways it doesn't have anything to do with them. For now, I'm fine with having the freedom to travel without making arrangements. That could change eventually. I say that same thing, because one of the things when we lost Reagan was that we could, we could spend the night different times, where before we always had to be home, or we would have had to make arrangements beforehand. And not that we have really gone any place to make that into effect, but yeah, that's right, Henry. Enjoyed all. Thank you so much. We're at 33 minutes. I apologize again that I was a few minutes late. I was in the middle of glass. I was making some things with glass. And have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your New Year's Day. And all I can say is, I hope you enjoy 2026. I told Joe yesterday, it was just like, it was a blink of an eye, and it was the year 2000 when it was Y2K and all that stuff. And now it's 25 years later, and now it's 26 years later because it's 2026. Julie says that she works Monday mornings, but we'll catch the replay. And Matthew says we'll be tuning in for the Monday video. Awesome. I will see you guys next time. Have a great day and a great weekend. And I just so appreciate you guys coming in and chatting with me for a little while. And I will see you next time. Bushcraft Family says, enjoy the time you have. True words. You got to enjoy every moment. Bye, everybody.